Welcome everybody to Talk That Talk,
Taking
where we have the unfiltered, unscripted, uncomfortable,
Let's get down.
conversation.
Taking down.
All right.
All right, welcome everybody to Talk That Talk, where we have the unfiltered, unscripted, uncomfortable conversation about band, HBCU, band culture, music education, and more. Today is going to be one of those music education conversations. So if you ain't ready for it, get ready for it. So first and foremost, I will definitely say this. It's been a while since I'm not going to say it's been a while. It's been about 2 weeks since we've had a show. And what's happening right now is I'm pretty basically doing an on week and an off week. Also, I'm going to have a Luke's Band report that's going to be happening on Monday. There are some things that have been happening in the band world, and I actually wanted to talk about it. And so I will be talking about that on Monday. So get ready for that as well. Today is going to be a very, very interesting episode, and I'm going to actually tell you how I came about it. For those of you all who don't know or who know, because I've said it on many times before, I left education. I definitely left the music education world, and I'm gonna be very honest. It's been an interesting ride so far, but. And one of these days, I'm probably going to pop the mic and just have a complete conversation about how I left, why I left, so on and so forth. But I wanted to actually have more conversations with people because I know Quan has brought up multiple times that there is a teacher shortage. And because there is a teacher shortage, I felt it necessary that we have this conversation and we all come to the front of the congregation and talk about one, the teacher shortage, people leaving, but band directors, music educators, so on and so forth, leaving as well. And so let's get ready. Hold on to your butt cheeks. You may hear some stuff today that just may not, or you just may not have been ready for. But it is what it is. Before we get into the conversation, she has got to get me a KK side version of this baseball joint that she got on right now. I don't know where she got this from. But Portia, I need that in KK side. Is that an E Sigma, Daddy?
No, Aaron gave it to me when I crossed.
Oh, see, I'm a little jelly right now. I'm gonna be honest. I'm really. I gotta put this out here for the young KK side, Tau Beta Sigma stuff. Y'all young folk. I'm just jelly. Y'all get the sweet nail you now. All the stuff be extra sweet. This dude down. So one of the guests that we have in here today, he crossed back when I was at PV. He got sweet nail. I don't got that. Most of my stuff just says KK side. That's it. We ain't got a whole bunch of cool drawings and all. Now, in all fairness, one of the brothers from his chapter, Brother Elton McWashington, was pretty dope at creating a lot of stuff. I mean, he created something else, but we're not going to get into that history. But if y'all have ever seen the KK side drawing with the card on it, that has like the king card and he's holding up side on both sides. If you ever seen that one, that's Elton McWashington. If you ever seen the one where it's got the brothers throwing K's and it's like 3 of them, that's Elton McWashington. So he has a lineage of great stuff, and so because they come from the chapter, they got a lot of sweet stuff too. But anyway, my bad. I digress. Well, but that's if y'all didn't hear what he said. He said he has one hoodie left that he's about to give away. I gave away a lot of stuff. I gave away belts and shirts and I ain't give away a jacket though. I wasn't giving away my jacket. Now that wasn't happening. But yeah. So I barely have any Nelia right now, except for I got a cousin who makes stuff, and I got a homegirl who made something for me as well. So those are the only. Matter of fact, no. Sora from Eastside, Frolanda, she made me something. So I got two things, and that's it. That's pretty basically the end of my Nelia. Now, as far as alpha stuff, I got alpha stuff for days. So yeah, but my bad, Portia. I'm sorry. How you doing, girl?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I don't know if you don't sound like you're good. You sure?
I had a day, but I'm
Okay.
here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully today's conversation is going to make you forget about the day in which you had, because when we start talking this stuff about music educators and band directors and quitting and all this kind of stuff, we learn you something at least once or twice on these episodes. So before we get into this, let me put this disclaimer out there. If you are on the fence about leaving education, leaving the band director world or the music education world or just teaching in general, listen, if you're on the fence, this is not a ploy to get you to leave. Let me make that very clear. Please do not walk into your office tomorrow with a resignation letter saying, "Man, I heard last night on this podcast that da 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 da." No. That's not what we're trying to do here. We're just trying to open eyes. That's it. And have conversations. That's it. You gonna choose to do whatever it is that is best for you. All right? All right. Without further ado, though, let me go ahead and bring the guest in that we do have. This young brother was actually a student of mine at PV. Great musician, still gigging on the road right now. I guess I'll go ahead and say it. Former music educator, and he is going to share with us some of his great stories. I don't want to say horror stories. I'll just say great stories. So I'll go ahead and bring them in, and I open up the chat. So at any point, if anybody is ready to come in and tell their story or the thoughts on their side, you are more than welcome to do so. But I'm going to bring him in right now. Brother Jordan Stevens. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, Prof? How you doing, man?
I am good. I'm getting more gray hair every day.
I was about to say you look like it. First of all, thank you for having me, Portia. Good evening, after morning, wherever it is that you at. Nice to finally meet you. Prof, I dig the new hair. You won't look like that a few years ago. I'm into it. You're doing
Yeah,
the right thing, my boy.
yeah. You guys, well, the show has seen me in pretty basically every iteration of hair you can possibly think of. Because when I
Yeah.
started this show, I was bald,
Yep.
and I traversed to having hair, and now the hair is just growing and growing. So, yeah. Y'all saw me when I was bald, though, right? Or did I have
Uh,
hair when you came in?
I think there was one year he was bald. I slight remember that, like super slight, I
Yeah.
think. But I'll also disclaimer ahead of time. I apologize ahead of time. I'm gonna be muting a lot. Allergies are kicking my ass. I'm gonna be over here coughing up a lung a little bit. My bad.
All right. Well, don't shard on yourself. That's all we ask.
I'll do my best.
Very good. Very good. All right. So let's go ahead and kick this thing off. And the way I want to kick it off is what's going on, Brother Moore? The way I want to kick this thing off is I actually want to start, Jordan, with you, and just kind of telling the story of why you wanted to get into education, but then what took you out of education.
Man, so crazy thing. I don't know if you know, when I was at PV, I was a performance major. I
Yeah.
was not on the ed track at all. Had no intentions of being a band director, no nothing like that. Hell, I didn't even have any intention of going to college. I was forced to doing that. So then I graduate. I went to U of H. I am a proud U of H dropout. No Cougs. Not the biggest fan of that place. But while I was out in Houston, Eric Jimenez, he hit me up randomly one night. I was working overnight at Pepsi. He asked me what my schedule was for the coming semester. I just sent it to him. And then he's just offered me a job. He was like, "Hey, I need somebody to come through and work with my low brass kids. Can you do it?" So I was like, keep working at Pepsi throwing heavy ass cases of soda, or go help kids make better sounds on large pieces of metal. I think it was pretty easy thing there, right? So I worked at Heights High School with Eric for 2.5 years. I think that was 2016 when I started there. Literally, like I was just a tech in a nutshell. I go and teach lessons. I'd help out with jazz band, and then I would make myself a marching tech for marching season. So gratefully he let me do a lot with those kids, and during that time like I really found I was like, I'm into this is cool, I can really dig with this. Also, again, super transparent, I was super depressed at that time, and frankly the only thing that could get me out of bed in the morning was that I got to go work with those kids. So I was like, okay, cool, like this seems like the thing that I'm going to go do. I literally just randomly one day decided I was going to go take the music content exam. Literally out the blue. Again, still had no intention of being a band director. Didn't really know what I was doing. Went and took the content exam, passed it. And I was like, well, shit. Excuse my language. That's too hard. I think I'm gonna do this. So after that, it was like 2017, 2018, following year. New principal came in and she cut my job. Didn't tell me. Told Eric. Then told Eric to tell me. Whole thing there. So February 2018, I did some interviews around HISD, ended up at a place called Wisdom High School, and I moved to Wisdom mid second semester in February, March, basically the last 6 weeks of school. We can dive into all that later if you want, but I ended up only spending that last semester or that last 6 weeks there, plus like the first 2 weeks of June. That principal then posted my job because I was still in an alternative certification program at that point. He had told me, we can work with you, you'll figure it out. And then June hit. He's like, hey, I'm going on vacation. When I come back in 2 weeks, your alternative certification needs to be like finished. Mind you, he had told me I was going to have time to finish it up until like the end of the school year. He was like, yeah, no, never mind. So we posted your job when I get back. It needs to be finished or you're gone. I submitted my letter of resignation the next morning. Moved my stuff up to Baltimore area with my family for a bit. Then I was just interviewing for shits and giggles, quite frankly. Ended up interviewing at Hightower High School in Fort Bend ISD. Somehow, on a wing and a prayer, got an assistant job there, and ended up being interim head director for that second semester. And la la, it was, I don't know if you can tell at this point, my journey into music education was kind of unconventional. So, in a nutshell, the way I really like to say it is that I blame Eric for me being a band director in the nicest ways possible.
That's a nice way to blame someone else.
He knows this too, man. He knows. It's what he's
Oh
good
my
at.
gosh. Okay. So, what was your reason for making the decision to step out of it after being an interim and going through this process, and then earlier basically saying that the kids were the reason why you continue to go through it and get up in the morning?
Man, again, as transparently as possible, December 26th, 2021, this is after like all the everything. Um, I was sitting on my balcony, gun pointed to my head, ready to blow my fucking face off, point blank period, because of all the stress from the job. Um, I'm gonna do my best not to do name dropping and whatnot, but I'm sure you're aware of the FAD in Fort Bend. Yeah, that was a struggle. You already know what it's like on that side of the district. That was a struggle. I was dealing with, honestly, my first year there, I had the worst senior class I've ever seen anywhere, like throughout the whole school. The next year after they graduated, the whole school culture was different. Sorry, in the nicest way possible, those kids were pretty terrible. And not as a byproduct, they were a byproduct of their absolutely terrible parents. And then gratefully, my administration changed my last 1.5 years there. I had been moved out of the interim head position. I was back as an assistant, which worked great for me. But even in my first 1.5, 2 years there, my admin was just unsupportive, not smart, sneaky. Like, I had an AP come down to the band hall when I was practicing on lunch. I'm still a performing musician, and I'm trying to encourage kids to practice. So I practice every day in the middle of the band hall, my office, whatever. I'm just playing along to some tunes on the screen. AP walks in, waits for me to get done playing, looks me right in my face, and says, "Oh my God, I didn't know you know how to play an instrument." This this was the core of my administrative team. So again, the short nutshell of that is unsupportive administration, unintelligent administration, and I always tell people I worked with 14 to 18-year-olds. I expected at least one of them to piss me off every day I walked in the band hall. That's just 14 to 18-year-olds, right? It was the 36 to 42-year-olds that acted like 14-year-olds that really helped do it for me.
Um, so let me go ahead and say this. So I did an experiment, and this is kind of how the conversation with Jordan came along. I did an experiment on my page. And on my page, I will tell you exactly what I put for those of you guys who don't, follow me. And I put it on the Facebook. I didn't put it on the TikTok or anything like that because, I just didn't. Maybe I should probably do that. Do an Instagram post and maybe a YouTube post. But I did an experiment. I said, do I have any educators who have quit teaching? I'm trying to see something very serious. In one day, I will say this, within, I want to say maybe 2 to 3 hours, I had about maybe 38 comments. I'm up to about 41 now. And a lot of them are me going back and forth and so on and so forth, having conversations with people about why they decided to leave education. So I'm going to run down a lot of these answers, and then I'm going to go into another topic. So one of them was, my wife did last year. I'm going to skip what Jordan said. Yes, yep, yes, and no. Still in education, but the classroom was a null. Somebody put chunk deuces. It's a struggle to stay daily. That's something I'm gonna jump into in a second. Yep. Turning my resignation in today. And that was from somebody who I have been watching them be an educator before I was an educator. Someone else said, who I used to work with, I know of 4 that have already, and 1 will be this year. One said about to. Somebody that I work with in drum corps said I did. Somebody else that I worked in drum corps said that I did. It's really interesting to see the number of people who are either quitting or have quit or are thinking about quitting. So I'm gonna get into a couple of the conversations that I had with some people behind closed doors. I won't give you their names, but here's one of the things that stood out to me. One of the people, when I asked, and it kind of goes along to what you were saying. One of the people that I asked, I said, administration, lack of accountability amongst administrators, high expectations with little to no student or teacher resources, selectively involved parents, the fake push for SEL with no actual allotted time to build those relationships, and most importantly, test score driven approach to the lesson cycle when students lack certain foundational skills. So actually, I want to go back a little bit. Do we believe, or do you believe, that admin is the breakdown of all of this?
Not all of it. Admin plays a large role, quite frankly. Like we all know, and no matter what position you're in, what company you're at, if your upper management is trash, you're gonna have a terrible time. Point blank period. That's cross the board. But I wouldn't put it just at admin. It's definitely on parents for sure. And there's a part of me that wants to say on students too, but it goes back to how their parents raised them. So I guess I'll split them on that too.
Portia, let me ask you this question. You're in the corporate world, right? Have
Yeah.
you, when it comes to what you deal with, and I won't put you out there, so if you feel like you saying too much, I ain't trying to get you fired now. But when it comes to you being in the corporate world, does your leaders and your I guess your bosses really dictate the outcomes of how you approach your job?
Yes. I think that's across the board though. Like the environment, your comfort level, your people don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad managers. that's just the reality. I mean, the job can come with its difficulties or challenges or, whatever, but bad management makes or breaks the experience. I don't care where you work. I think educators may have an additional element um, in there when dealing with the students and parents and stuff like that. But I mean, absolutely, management plays a major part in your experience. Like, I've had the gamut in my life, and one of the best managers I've ever had was before I moved to corporate America and I was working at social services. I was poor. I wasn't paid any money, but she was awesome. So I enjoyed going to work there every day. But when I started reporting to somebody else, that's when I was like, oh no, I'm poor. I'm stressed and I don't like you. So I'm leaving. And so that matters.
So, what is it then when you're dealing with, or when I'm seeing a lot of educators, music educators, band directors, so on and so forth, having the conversations about the administration being a major issue? What does that necessarily say about admin and education, or what does that say about the buildup or the strategy and how they build education now?
Who is that for?
Either or, doesn't matter. Whoever jumps out there first.
Is there a strategy?
That's the problem. That's what I was gonna say. There isn't one, or if there is one, and this is just my experience, um, it's outdated. It hasn't adjusted. Um, I can't speak to education on that level as far as anything other than undergrad, but in working with these students every day, it's a complete difference from how even the band staff, administration at Norfolk State, all of them handle and interact with students. They treated us like adults. They held us accountable. These are the things that you need to take care of to handle, to uphold your end of the bargain or to contribute to your success here. Now, everybody is carried around, and it seems like they're more scared of the students than anything. Like, all kinds of decisions are made off of, well, we don't want them to complain. Well, I'm complaining. This is a university. This is a university, but you want to act 12. And then you want to pick and choose when you act 12. When it's a time for us to hold you accountable, then you're 12. But on the tomorrow, I'm an adult. Like, it's a weird scenario, and I don't mean any harm. I think the pandemic impacted us all. But these pandemic students that are coming to college, pray for us. Pray.
Are we still, and maybe yeah, never mind. I was gonna ask, are we still dealing with pandemic babies at this point? But yeah,
Almost definitely. Yeah, we're gonna be dealing with that for a few more years.
Yeah, that's why I had to stop and think for a second. Like, yeah, we are. We still in that phase.
You saying that pandemic was 4 years ago? I mean, if we being honest, some of our behaviors as Black people stem from something that happened hundreds of years ago. So I mean, it's not. I mean, those precedents and adjustments and that coddling was already going bad, but now it is just. I don't know. Like, and then if they don't want to like what you say or how you do it, or then it's the boy who cried wolf. It's very interesting, and I don't know how y'all get up and do that every day. The people I work with get on my nerves, but yeah.
Okay. Oh shoot! I accidentally muted myself. Okay, so I'm looking in the chat, and I really kind of had it written on here, but someone said something that was really interesting, and I want to kind of dive into that. It says, this is from Devondria Douglas. Central admin along with campus admin nowadays aren't trained on how to support fine arts programs. That's where the gap really exists. when I start thinking about, you know, my specific situations in the places I've been, the places I've worked, the people that I've talked to, there in lots of cases there were breakdowns of what is supposed to happen in the fine arts. Most of the time, I'm not going to say all the time, but most of the time, it was always a situation of, well, we just need a band. We just need a band. Let's build a band up. And there was no real thought into how and what that looks like from a supportive perspective, from a financial perspective, just almost across the board. Is that something that you experienced, Jordan, when you were in school as well, or teaching?
1000%. Look, man, I would never forget. We were doing a pep rally. This is when I was interim head director. Pep rally. It's about 45 minutes before the pep rally starts. So have the band hall warm me up. You know, doing quick spot checks what we're going to play. I have an AP walk down to me on the podium, still in front of the band. Says, "Excuse me, Mr. Stevens. I just wanted to know if the band could play these songs for us at the pep rally today." Wait for it. Not a singular one of those songs was in our book. Not one. Not a none of them. I said, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, we can't do that. We don't play any of the songs. Then she looked me dead in my face and asked, well, why not? Can't you just learn them real quick? Yeah, let it sink in. Yeah. So Devondre is definitely right. Central down to campus admin don't know how to support, but you're also right. They don't even know what that support is or what goes into building a program. I mean, quite frankly, my admin team for that first 2 years thought we were just a jukebox. You know, put 25 cents in, get your favorite song played. I'm sorry, in the nicest way possible, they don't know what the hell goes on down there. For the longest time, they couldn't comprehend that us and orchestra weren't the same thing. Our band hall in the orchestra room was connected by an office, but they always came down to us about orchestra stuff. They just don't know, literally, at all. And I'm not trying to be nice to say, oh, the ignorance, y'all don't know. And I don't think they really care to know, as long as there's something functioning down there and nobody's complaining is really what I was given. Then cool, whatever. It's a band.
Do you think, and this is to either one of you guys, do you think that that's because the band doesn't bring in the money the way that athletic teams do?
No, that is not what I think it is. I just think it's a sign of the times. You know how we've had these conversations about people getting doctorates in anything and then becoming band directors? From the people that I'm close to that are educators or especially admin, what they've shared with me is that they're struggling because there are high-level officials in the school system, even superintendents, who got there because they went and got advanced degrees, but some of them have never been in the classroom or didn't spend enough time in there to even understand how that works. So it's the same situation. If you don't understand teaching, I mean, the band element is separate, but if you don't understand how classrooms work, how can you provide guidance on what should and should not be taking place and help to drive the changes and make a difference in those schools if you have no idea? You went and got a degree in this, went and got a master's degree in education. Oh, now you're working in central office making decisions. It's kind of the same, a byproduct of the same thing. I'm going to go get an advanced degree, apply for this position. That degree is going to get me into a room that I really don't know enough to be in.
I'm sorry, you just learned me something today. There are admin out there who ain't never been in the classroom?
Yes.
Yes. When they say something, the reason I know that and the reason I had to share that because when it came to me, I was like, excuse me? And they were like, this person has been an educator for a long time. She said, before, to be a superintendent, you had to have done this. You had to have been in the trenches to be, in central office in those high-ranking positions making decisions. You had to have to understand, these things. And now it's more about I'm looking for those advanced degrees. So you could have went and had a business undergraduate degree, but got a master's in education and apply for this job, and here you go.
Which I want to say is very widely popular down here. I know a lot of folk that go to Lamar University, get that cute little like master's in educational leadership, then boom, there's somebody's AP. I'm like, won't you just work in like IBM or something?
You see what I'm saying? How those two don't translate. And what is happening? I'm telling you, when this was said to me, I asked multiple people. And then when I got like, okay, this is crazy. I'm telling you, when I found out, I just had to share because I thought that was nuts, and it's crazy because you saying that and we don't even live in the same place. How I mean, this is not apples to apples. I know how to do what I know how to do in corporate America. I still have that social service background, but you ask me to go in a classroom or to be somebody's AP, child, no. For what? That's not my area. But why would that? Even if I went and got a master's in education, how does that qualify me over somebody who's been teaching for 15 years, 10 years, 5 years?
Because the piece of paper said that you can do it.
Yeah, that's the dumbest thing ever.
Y'all just made me sick to my stomach. This is information I just did not know. Because
Yes.
well, I mean, Portia, we ain't that far apart in age, but I don't know, maybe it's because I am older, because I only knew a system where you had to be in the classroom before you could even set foot in those positions. And so just to hear this is just like this is mind-boggling to me. Wow.
Nah, we fast tracking everything now.
Oh my gosh.
Everything free game. You can get you a certification, a piece of paper that say you understand this. Go for it.
Man, I knew people who were directors for 14, 15, 16, 20 years, then getting a principal certification and then stepping into that. And you mean to tell me that people just like, all right, I'm just gonna get this principal daddy and be good? Oh my gosh.
Or being there 1 and 2 years and be like, I don't really like these kids. I don't really like having to report to somebody else. I'm gonna go get this certification so I can be a AP.
That's a slap in the face.
It is.
Because how can you walk in my classroom and tell me about how my classroom should go
and evaluate me on anything and to use this brother's example, and you was at IBM 2 years ago. Excuse me?
You said IBM. All right. Let's move on. So let's take admin off the table. And we've had this conversation before, and I want to kind of look at it slightly different. I had a very interesting, and I'm gonna bring this up because I just kind of feel like it's necessary to have this conversation. So yesterday, I in my pursuit of trying to figure this stuff out, I got a really interesting message from one of my former students. In the midst of all of this, and I'm going to use this to set up my next question. I'm not going to read all of it, but I'm going to read some of it. It says, I'm reaching out to you because I wanted to let you know that I have been that having you as my director helped me find my passion for music, specifically the way you taught that there's more meaning to the music we're playing than what meets the eye. And then she goes on to say, I don't play flute anymore, but I've taken on learning other instruments and writing music. She says she's in a rock band, and she says, I thought of you when we released our EP back in January this year, and remembered how excited I would be to go to class and learn more about music. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff in there, but I bring this up because so many times we talk about, the students, right? And as educators, we put a lot into our students because we want to be able to give them the same energy, the same passion, the same excitement for music that we once had. But when I read things like that, and I've heard from multiple students that have had my past before, the question is it really the students? Can students be the issue?
Yes.
Period. Yes. Yes.
Expound on that, brother.
Look, first, I hate to be. I guess I'm kind of considered the old guy now since I've crossed over into the 30s. I hate to be the old guy that says it, but point blank period, the kids are different. They softer, and we not talk about no, I'm in your face, yelling at you, screaming at you, blah 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 type soft. I noticed that back in 2013. That's at least for me when I started noticing student culture shifting to I need my handheld for everything. What do you mean I'm getting in trouble for not doing the right thing? What do you mean I can't just do whatever I want to do? What do you mean I have to show up and be on time? You mean I actually have to know what I'm doing and do the right thing? That's crazy. Yes, the students can and flat out are the problem. Again, like I said earlier, for me that stems back to their parents and the way their parents are raising them. But you the byproduct of that problem, you the problem, my boy. Point blank.
So that's a very interesting thought. So then that means that can you say that you've never had a student that came to you and then said that you impacted them, or that you've well, I was gonna say touch, but we don't want to go that route because people will take that the wrong way.
No
But
diddy.
inspire.
Oh man.
Inspired them throughout the time that you were an educator.
Thankfully, I have plenty of students that tell me that. Actually, I'm not sure I've had a student come back and tell me that I didn't inspire them or help them grow. But I mean, I'm sure there are those out there that don't come back and talk to me because I was an asshole to them, and that's completely okay. Honestly, I'm surprised at the amount of students that tell me I impacted them because I mean, you know me. I am much calmer than I was in undergrad. I'm a much calmer individual, but I was still intense and on your ass in the band hall. So, yes, thankfully, apparently I've impacted people's lives or something like that. That's what I've been told.
So first of all, I want to go back to that. Yes, I'm gonna tell you about. Well, I ain't gonna tell you about him, but what I will tell you, he's grown so much that before he came on the show, he actually asked me about the level that he can get to, and I let him know that he can be himself. There's this 50% though. I need only 50%. I don't need the full 100 because he can go 100. All right, but with that being said though, so is it and I've asked this question, I want to say last year or a year and a half ago, then are we fooling ourselves in the positions that we're in by saying we are doing this for the students, but if the students are the ones that are stressing us out, then are we just fooling ourselves because we do get maybe those couple of kids that say, oh, you were the inspiration to me or you inspired me, but we go every day and we stress ourselves out and we deal with admin, unsupportive admin, but then we also dealing with these kids. Are we fooling ourselves in that mindset then?
Yes and no. Actually, you made a post about this a couple years ago. We talked about it a little bit. And yeah, no, because of course, like we're all going in there hoping that we're going to impact somebody in whatever way it is. Maybe I'm going to musically impact you. Maybe I'm going to impact you in this area of your life, or what the hell ever like our goal is. Because I don't, at least for me, I don't believe there's any educator that's going to educate you like, yeah, no, I'm just here to collect the check completely. Like we know there are folk collecting checks, but they have like one or two students that they actually like turn up for. Like I'm really trying to pour into you. But the other side of that is that we got to remember that we're humans. I think it's not Nietzsche. I can't remember who it was right now, who wrote The Denial of Death, and explained that basically everything that we do as humans is part of our legacy project for us to be remembered after we're dead. People's great wars, people's new inventions, our families, obviously, our legacy, our last name living on. So yeah, there's a portion that's like I'm really trying to impact people and children and help the next generation. But let's be real, we're humans, we're selfish beings. There's a piece of us that goes into the stress every day because I want to be remembered. Point blank period. Whether that's people remember my name or they don't remember my name, they just remember the product that I put out, or they remember that I was a really great clinician, or that I'm a really great trombone player, or I was a really great educator, or surrogate mother or father. there's a piece of us that wants to go in because we want to be remembered. So we'll endure that stress because we have ego. And it's not a bad thing. We're human beings.
Portia, question, because you do pour into kids and so on and so forth. Does their results and the results that you see in them and the way that they attach themselves to you, is that the thing that keeps you going? Don't get in trouble.
I know I'm trying to keep my little job. Um, it's a combination. To continue to provide the opportunity for people to love color guard the way I do keeps me going. My love for the program that changed my life keeps me going. Um, so I would say it's a combination of the two. I am definitely feeling the effects of the change in culture. Um, just certain things I wouldn't have had to say even 3 years ago, 4 years ago, that I have to say now. And that annoys me. And I have to repeat myself. And I'm really big on establishing upfront what my culture is here and what the expectations are here, because I have absolutely nothing to do with who raised you and what you did in high school in that program or nothing else. Here's my way of doing this, and this is really not for everybody. Um, but with that being said, I'm a win every time. You gonna change, not me.
Jordan, you said something very, very profound, and it's something that I think about all the time now that I'm not in the position. And I feel like I can say it a lot more too because I'm not in the position. But we're human. There is this almost Superman-esque kind of persona that people put on educators, teachers, so on and so forth, that to me is just unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we've kind of dipped into this before. Like when we see these news reports, when, you know, teachers are lashing out at kids and so on and so forth, or a kid swings at a teacher and the teacher swings back, and all these kind of things, and then we see somebody they found on the street sitting in their car. What do you think about what happened? And you know, and they're like, that teacher should know better. They should practice restraint. That's, you know, I'm like, well, at what point do we just stop being human? You know, and because you really just don't know, right? Like I can have as much patience as I possibly can, but what if that day, you know, my wife broke up with me, right? Or what if that day, you know, something happened to a family member?
You trying to give all these nice scenarios.
I'm not. I'm just saying.
What
What I'm
I'm gonna
saying is
say
we're
is,
human.
if the
You know,
day
go ahead.
you decide to put your hands on me, that student teacher relationship leaves. It exited the minute you swung, and we are now equals. And you're gonna catch these hands like we equals. But that's why I work in corporate America.
Look,
And it's one of the reasons I left public service. That's why I left social services. I think we're speaking about educators here, but public servants in general, mm-mm, mm-mm.
for legal purposes, I will say I have plenty of those stories. And we can talk about that not on here for legal
Yeah,
purposes. But look, I
it's
had
not
plenty
realistic.
by me. It is that whole, which never really made sense to me. You know, the educator is considered like you're supposed to be an upstanding pillar of the community. And for me, I lived in my community. I lived in Sienna Plantation. I was a 5 minute drive away from my school. I saw my kids at the gas station, at HEB, at LA Crawfish. I seen parents all over the place. Like I was in the community. But mind you, not that anybody ever wants to get a DUI, but you get a DUI, you're fired immediately. You got to text your immediate supervisor, and then you're cut. You do anything that's just a little not upstanding ish. Oh, we got to scold you. You're done for. You got to be out of here. Bro, I'm a human being. I breathe air just like you. I need water just like you. I need sunlight just like you to survive. Like, is there ever a space where I get to breathe and be human, or am I the Superman robot all the time?
No, but the students get 1,000 chances, and it's not their fault, and they're still evolving, and they're human, and yeah. Mm.
You
I
know,
mean, in that case, I started teaching when I was 22. I was still evolving. My frontal lobe didn't connect till I was 27.
Well, I'm just saying, it's one set of lenses for one thing and an additional set for another. And I just don't know. Some of that stuff is just instinct. I'm not condoning violence. Please don't misunderstand me. But I, I just don't know. These people are teachers, not Jesus.
I mean, I had to tell a student to try Jesus, not me. And all I'm gonna say is they decided not to try Jesus.
so
We can talk about it offline.
yeah. So, but you guys just brought up something, and it was not even part of one of the questions that I have here. But and I've said this, it's funny. I've said a lot of these things before, and I just like to get more insight and thoughts from other people. As band directors, music educators, so on and so forth. Heck, just even regular educators, just regular teachers. Have we overcompensated for the idea of perfection? Right? We have taught over and over and over and over again how not to make the mistake. And then when we start looking at these teachers in these positions, kind of similar to what you said, Jordan, one thing and we're out. But then going back to what you said, Portia, these kids can make multiple mistakes. So have we really just kind of pushed this perfection idea that doesn't really exist? Because the way that I figured out life and the way that I figured out so many things is the best way that I learned anything is by failing. I had to fail at it in order to do it right.
Well, I think some of it is overcompensation, at least from my perspective, with what is told to the teachers, but overcompensating in what is not told to or done to students for adverse, outlandish behavior. So they know that the standard or expectation is that no matter what they do, the teacher is supposed to remain the consummate professional. They are supposed to not react no matter the situation. So no matter what I do, and it's, to me, less consequences now than ever before. I mean, I'm hearing stuff like you can't even fail students no more. That's super weird. So then we sending people to college who can't cut it, and then that leads to a whole nother ball of wax.
That's
because
true. That's true.
I was nailing it in high school. Or
I couldn't give no kid less than I think, well, for us, it was less than a 50.
How's that helping them grow? You haven't grasped this, but whatever. So, so we've adjusted there, and they know it, but it doesn't matter what they do. You're supposed to be a professional. That's why I'm telling y'all I had to leave social services, because I'm not, you're not going to throw stuff at me. You're not going to threaten me. You're not going to do any of that. Not to me. And they go, and I'm just, oh my gosh, call security. No, I'm not.
Look, I told plenty of kids this badge come off real quick, my boy. Watch what you say. I'm employable. Like I can leave. But on your point, Julian, the perfectionist point, I think so. I found in a lot of my students, they were flat out afraid to fail. I'm still not really sure why, other than they cited embarrassment or whatever. I'm like, cool, you should probably be embarrassed here before you go to corporate and get embarrassed and fired in front of everybody because you can't do nothing right.
But
But
you want to know why?
hmm,
Because now we give everybody a participation trophy. There are no first, second, and third place. Everybody get a trophy. Those things, even though at that young age it felt like the end of the world, it taught you work ethic, but more importantly, it taught you coping skills. It taught you that everything in your life is not going to go your way. You're not going to get every job you apply for. You're not going to get everything you go after, but it taught you resilience. It taught you how to reevaluate whatever that interview was, or that bad grade on a paper, that unsuccessful championship game, that third place trophy at a competition. It gave you skills that you could use throughout your life. I don't know how many times now I see when I have checkoffs, I have to videotape them now because people have whole breakdowns. I can't. What is going on? There's next week. So what are you going to do when you apply for a job and you don't get it? Or you receive corrective action from a manager at a job? Is this going to happen? You're going to be unemployed.
I just want to say real quick, they are going to break down. And no slight against this young lady. I was managing a gym up here in the DFW area for a bit. Had a personal trainer. She was great, really cool, but she ended up leaving work early after I left. I can't remember what was wrong with her, but she had a slew of things she had to deal with. But there was nobody there to take sales appointments. She missed her personal training clients. So the owner texted me, asked what happened. I was like, I have no clue. So he talked to her that night, and apparently he got on her ass pretty tough. And then when I came into the office the next day to talk to her, like, I have no intention of beating you down. If I want to know, hey, what happened? Where was the breakdown in communication? If you needed help or you were not feeling well, you could just talk to me. Broke down, crying. I mean, this young lady, I think she's 23 now. Just broke down, lost it. I'm like, baby, calm down. Like, I know he already got on you, and I'm actually not going to get on you. I just want you, broke down though. I'm like, I don't know. You might need to rub your hands up against some limestone, get some stuff for skin, baby. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay. All right, let's shift gears here. We leading up to the good meat. Pause.
At this point, it's just like once a show.
I mean, it slips. Pause.
Yikes.
It's hard.
Between
It's
you
hard.
and Quan, like,
It's hard to be able to get through some conversations without there being at least one. Uh, but let's get to the next part. So I'm gonna read this. This is from somebody who was on who came to my page and said they were considering leaving. They said they're considering it every day, and so I asked them why. This is what they said: admin support is horrible. The way admin looks at music teachers as an add-on. He said he can go on and on. Kids nowadays are horrible and disrespectful, and the parents are just as bad. Sounds like exactly what Jordan was saying. And he was saying this is his fourth year in a row building a program from scratch and ending up with a competing unit. And he is in Louisiana. Now, it's always a thought process, and a lot of people, or at least I know from communications that I've had, a lot of people would assume that at least Louisiana is not as strict when it comes to band as it is in Texas. And and some would assume that the issues are not the same. But having that conversation with him, you realize that there's similar things that are happening across the board. However, getting to the point of thinking about quitting, what is it that holds people back from leaving the job?
I'd assume it's the normal fear things because I said I was going to quit every year, which I knew I wasn't going to be a band director forever. But it just took me a while to get to the point of like, yeah, I'm out of here. So I'm just going to assume it's a normal human things, fear of judgment, fear of what's going to happen next, fear of looking like a fool to people. I pursued this thing and then I didn't really see it through. So, oh my God, people are going to think that I'm, flaky or dumb or whatever. But for me, like my thoughts are, I think it's just part of the human condition, the fear of the change and what's going to come after that.
Yeah, fear failure. I went to Norfolk State. I'm going to major in sociology and I'm going to help change the world. No, dog. This ain't it. You want me to do this for the next 30 years? No, I cannot. And so it was tough for me. I was unhappy for a while before I ever thought about trying to do a career switch. I mean, it was so terrifying to me. Like, I don't like this anymore, but I'm good at this. I know this. It's a steady industry. When I started looking at what I was going to do and, when I was going to do it and what that looked like for me, it was a lot of fear. But when I got to the point where I had to have prayer service in the morning before I went in there, talk to myself on the way, pep myself up, I knew it wasn't a life that I could lead for that extended period of time. And I'm working 2 jobs. Because y'all not paying me and my caseload is supposed to be between, I don't know, 300 people less than what I have. So I had to make a change, but it was scary. And I was going to be in a place that I was uncomfortable, and I was going a big one. And this one just hit me, starting from the bottom. Like, I've established myself here. I'm starting over, learning something new, and I don't know what that'll look like for me.
Yeah, and I don't think that you're saying anything wrong at all. And actually, I think Mr. Outlaw hit one of the things on the head that was very prevalent for me. I didn't want to let my students down. When I step into a classroom, students, specifically just my band kids, they were the reason why I was doing it. Again, I wanted to give those kids the experience that I had and allow them to appreciate the music the way that I appreciate it and give them some of just that same feeling, right? And I know that, in a lot of situations, I had built a situation where, kids really depended on me and they depended on the energy that I brought. And if I was, in certain situations where I was building a band program, they either hadn't had a director before or they had one, but it just wasn't a good situation. So they kind of felt like I was the saving grace from them. Or even if I walked in as an assistant, they were like, hey, I love Mr. Luke. He's the guy that I go to when I need to talk to or just need to be able to, have a listening ear. And so one of the bigger things for me was, giving and quitting on the students. That one was super difficult for me when I decided to walk out. So yeah. What was it? Was it difficult for you, Jordan, when you stepped away? Like, what were the things on your mind?
A little bit of what you just said too. First, I had said that I wanted to do at least 4 years at that school. Like I wanted to leave out with the freshman class that I came in with. And it was in the same vein, I've got these kids that depend on me. Like, I am your mother, your father, your accountant, your therapist, your blah, 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 your band director, all that jazz. Like, same situation. So it was definitely hard to break that connection. And also, a little bit what I said too, for me, it was I knew what I was doing next, but I was like, can I do this next? Like, I know I'm really fed up over here, but what happens if what I'm trying to do over here fails? Then what? Now you look like an idiot. Like, but who cares? Who look at you? Them folk don't pay your bills, and they can't be my ass, so it's whatever. Like, in a nutshell.
So I will say this too, and this is a perspective that I want to make sure, and I bring this up for anybody who's watching this now, anybody who's watching this on playback. One of the difficulties of me teaching was my family. And when I say that, and this is no slight to anybody. If you don't have a family, if you don't have kids and so on and so forth, that's fine. You do what you do. You come up with your own reasons and rationales. But for me, one of the reasons why I kept going was because of my family. One of the reasons why I got tired was because of my family. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, so here's a quick story about me. My wife was pregnant when I was teaching at a school in Houston. Won't say the school. But she had my son that morning when I was about to go into work. And then literally 2 days later, I was back to work. Because I didn't have enough PTO. And if I would have used it up, then because we don't get, paternity leave. So that for me at that moment, that was one of the ones, the parts that broke me, because my son was just born and my wife is in the hospital right now, just had the baby. We spent a day there, then packed him up, put him in the car seat, took him home, and I'm right back at work the next day. That was part of it. And then, I'm now, I went from there to being a head band director, and now I'm with these kids every day. I'm pouring into these kids, and I'm waiting after school because their parents ain't showed up yet. I have this rehearsal on this day. I'm doing all of these different things. I'm going on these trips. I'm doing so much stuff. And I remember one day, my wife came to pick me up after school, or excuse me, not after school, but after a performance. She came to the job and she picked me up one day, and my son did something. I don't remember what it was, but I looked at my wife and I said, "Man, when did he start doing that?" And she was like, "Well, it was, he been doing that for a while. You just ain't realized it." And I was like, "Well, I ain't really been here. You know what I'm saying? I haven't been around." And that was one of the things that kind of took me out, because I was missing the development of my own children and my own family. And I was pouring into other people's kids. And that one really took me out. And that was, my family was one of the reasons why, again, why I was doing it, but one of the reasons why I also felt like it was time for me to go. But it was also one of the reasons why it was hard for me to go. Because as an educator, there are benefits that do come along with that. And giving up those benefits. And so coming back to, this conversation, giving up those benefits, wondering where you're going to go next or what you're going to do next. Is it safe to say that as an educator, specifically a band director or a music educator, that we pour so much into what we do in undergrad to try to get to this point that we feel like we can't provide or we can't do anything after this, or we don't have it enough to jump into something else?
Sir, yes. Look, I have no shame in saying that I am currently looking for a day job. I gig full time, which Rick said that when I was an undergrad. It's great, but it's scary. Some days I bring in $5,000 to $6,000 a month. Some months I might have to go do some illicit activities, move some things and make these bills get paid type time, right? But I mean, bruh, it's yes, just yeah, you need time. And then you need to figure out what you're doing afterward. Because my lady and I have had this conversation that I don't really know how to market myself outside of being a musician. Not that I don't have skills, I've done pretty much everything. I've worked at Pepsi, I did gate control, inventory, I was a merchandiser, lead merchandiser, blah, 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 blah. I was regional sales manager for Anytime Fitness franchise. Like, I know how to build things. I used to build cars. I'm good at landscaping, yada, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to like trying to move into another field, I don't really know how to market myself because I have a whole lot of stuff that I've done, but I have specialized in music. Like I'm 31. I've been playing trombone since I was 4. I know the shit out of that. But then, oh, what's this manager job? I don't know if I know how to do those things. Wait, do I know how to do those? Have I done those before? I don't. It's really hard to move yourself in a different direction after this, quite frankly.
Is that and Portia? Let me ask you this question: Is that the same end? Is that the same kind of feeling on your end?
that I had when I left social services.
Yeah.
hmm Yeah, I had, majored in this. I had, invested my time in this. My internships, everything aligned with that. That was all I had done. So I had to figure out. I did an entire analysis. Where can I make more money? Because I've been, doing this, and it was fulfilling at first, but then it became draining, and then I was struggling, and not, there was no real growth potential. And I just had to figure out, okay, how can I translate these skills into a better life for myself? And it took me a while to even voice that I wasn't happy that I didn't do it. I mean, because people were proud, like she does this and she's helping people and she blah, blah, blah. And I hated going there every day. I did. And so once I decided it doesn't matter, you need to figure out a path forward that translates to these skills. And so that knowledge that I had gained there of kind of like oversight and, how government and local governments and federal government policies, procedures interact with that population. I just identified stuff at the insurance company I was working at that would align with those skills where I can take that foundation and go and serve this insurance company who also serves, lower socioeconomic people in a different way. And it worked out, but it was very hard. My whole family for the most part was educators, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't really like kids like that. So I knew that wasn't the path for me, but everybody was public servant. My mom worked in human resources for Richmond Public Schools. My sister's a teacher. My grandmother was a teacher. Like everybody did all of this stuff. But then I saw my uncle who worked for an insurance company in North Carolina. And he was balling. I was like, oh, yeah, I got to get out. This close to, serving the people and being poor is just not me.
And that's another thing. When we start talking about educators, finances is a big thing, right? Yeah, it really is, right? Like,
Yes.
I think about, and I come from, my mother was an educator. My mother, single mother, took care of me and my brother by herself on an education and on an educator salary, and we never went without, ever. The way that she did that, I thank God.
You have to be on no insight into it.
Right. But the way the world is now, and inflation is real.
Yo,
Teacher salaries ain't really changing like that. And it's even funnier now because now it's like I think my dad called me or my mother-in-law, cause somebody called me and was like, yeah, they taking anybody off the street now to try to be a teacher, and they giving them like a $20,000, $30,000 incentive. And
that's
I'm like,
because don't nobody want to do this.
right? Don't nobody want to do it.
I mean, I'm telling y'all, the number of times y'all have shocked me with these salaries is absolutely crazy to me. I don't know. And then the fact that y'all, like you described, you're going to away games, you have these different ensemble practices. You're not leaving when everybody else leave, and even the ones that aren't, teaching music or arts and stuff like that. Grading papers, doing all of this stuff that requires your time outside of work. And then they gonna play in y'all face with these salaries. It's crazy. I
can
I think y'all are superheroes. That's what I think.
I can definitely say that I am fortunate. One of the positives I can give to Fort Bend is that they pay, like point blank period. They pay. I left a well-paying job, but it still didn't match up to the work I was doing. I was in the band hall 16 hours a day, 6 days of the week, 9 months out of the year. I'm not leaving straight from rehearsal. Again, got to wait for kids to get picked up at 7:30 p.m. We finish rehearsal at 5:15. I got to leave straight from the band hall to my other rehearsal because I'm a professional musician. I play in this band. I have my own band. I got to go catch this gig. And then at that time, I was in a long distance relationship. That didn't really work because PTO, time off, I got to be at work. I'm the person that runs this thing. If I'm not there, nothing gets done. Even though I was paid well, it didn't match up to the amount of work I had to do. Like my first year there, I was in the band hall 7 days a week for at least the first semester. Like I was in that joint every day doing something.
And I'm not telling y'all to leave that public service, or especially being educators.
That's why I gave the disclaimer at the beginning.
We need y'all, but I'm gonna tell you, like, I never forget. And I can say this because I play a whole lot, but I believe in Jesus. I actually had a dream that I was going to be leaving social services, and I didn't tell anybody for a long time. And then I finally said it out loud. So everything started to move fast, and I was like, okay, this is really happening. I'm going to tell y'all how real it is. Like whenever I was working there, they would always say, well, why, you need this many days off, or why you not coming to work? What is it that you need? Get a doctor's note. Like, it was very, very, you need to be in this seat half dead if you have to get here. And then, so I started, I apply for this job, I get it. And I'm leaving my job at social services. And the guy called me from the insurance company and go, yeah, we would like to extend you an offer, and gave me the salary, the figure. First of all, I almost crashed my car. Had some experience, but not a ton. And they offered me $1,000 less than doubling the salary I was making at social services. Then I get there. I'm there like 6 months. My manager calls me in her office. She's like, hey, so you've been here about 6 months. Is there a reason you haven't taken any PTO? And I was like, well, I'm used to I'm trying to make sure I understand and I'm grasping and blah, blah, blah. She said, we believe in work-life balance here. So I don't care if you do a staycation, take a couple of days, whatever. You need to make sure that, yes, you're grasping, you're doing well, but you need to take off. Foreign language to me. You're encouraging me to take care of me. You're encouraging me to use the PTO that I earn. Totally different world. I'm not telling y'all to leave public service.
Hey, yo, y'all hiring? What's good?
We trying to have conversations about leaving education and getting people jobs at the same time.
Hey, listen, I'm just,
Got
you
some
got
shot.
to go. It just, it changed my life. Like, and I had a day to day, but at least they pay me enough to get on my nerves.
But see, but that's the thing, right? Like, you know, again, going back to the idea of letting it go, going back to the idea of the fear of what is next. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like that was plaguing on my mind when I decided to step away. And you know, one of the things that, and again, for me, it was family. And that was all I asked for. I wanted to be able to spend more time with my family and just being able to watch my kids grow up and actually see the development in them, right? And so, but leaving, that was like the question: are we going to be okay? Are we going to, are they going to be supported? Are the lights going to be ever get cut off? All of these different things that came into my head, and I am a true believer, but when you get into those moments, it becomes difficult. It becomes hard. Thank God that I do have a wife who's a believer as well, because, she had to continue to say, we going to be all right, hit you with the tie tripping. We going to be all right. So, but now I'm in a space where I'm an AV tech and I get to take my kids to school in the morning, and I'm blessed to be able to pick them up every day. And I'm so much less stressed than I did when I was, teaching and dealing, with all of those different elements. And don't get me wrong, like, I don't want anybody to think that I'm free. Like, I mean, yes, there is a freedom to it.
Maybe that's how
But
I
I
was.
do miss
I'm free.
being in front of the students, though. I miss being on the podium. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I don't miss that. Yeah, of course I miss that. But there was a level of things that were also going on that I just do not ever and will never miss. But it is scary. It is scary. The thought of what's next was always there. And there's so many different things that come along that can give you those reasons to want to be out. And like I said, there's a couple of more people that I did want to tell their story real quick. But yeah, it is a scary thing when you start thinking about it. Oh, I thought one of y'all had something. My bad.
No, it is scary, but I think for me, what I found is that it's the best decision I ever made for myself, like my quality of life. And all of it led me to here, because I never would have been able to coach. I don't know, when I was leaving work every day, I didn't know, what my week looks like, any of that. It was just so fluid. And the expectation was just, I probably wouldn't have had the mental capacity to do it, because I was just so unhappy and so stressed out. And I didn't find this about myself until later, that me being exposed to all of those things and all of those traumas, I was like soaking that in every day, and carrying that stuff home. Nope. I still believe in charity and helping people and trying to grow people. But hearing the things that I heard and seeing the things that I saw every day, I don't know how people do that for 30 years. It was not for me. And so it was just the best decision for me. So sometimes you have to do what's scary in order to grow. You have to tackle your fears. And that's one of the things that I think this generation is missing, because parents don't want them to fail. They've never failed. So they'll always play it safe. They'll always stick and not attempt anything new, because I don't want to fail. I didn't know how this was going to work out when I took that other job and switched careers, but I don't know, like, what's the alternative? I could not imagine how miserable I would be if I hadn't done that.
The alternative was misery.
That's exactly what it. Yeah.
Just to say the same thing as y'all, like we said, the fear of change, what's next, what's happening. Like again, I'm a freelance musician, entrepreneur. You know, we all know the first business we start isn't the business that we grow. So that's the moment I'm in with my businesses, and it's still scary. But I can't even lie. I don't wake up with the stress of having to be in before the bell. I don't wake up with the stress of knowing that I have 2 or 3 students that aren't going to get picked up till 8 p.m. I don't wake up with the stress of having to hold call logs and can't get in touch with parents about their kids failing and them coming back the day before 6 weeks is up, ask me why their kid failed. And I have 40 assignments in the grade book and they do not one of them. So the fear of what's next is real, but I'd much rather deal with the fear of what's
Smids.
No. I think, and you know what? I had one thing, and I don't know. I think the generations before us had some really good qualities, but one of the things that I think we prioritize more than they ever did is peace. Anything that does not serve my peace is too expensive for me. And the older I get, that's why more people our age are doing career switches, are saying, forget it, I'm going back. I don't know how many people I know who were educators who said, I'm going back to school. I'll figure this out while I get this additional degree. And I'm going to go and do something else that I want to do every day, that I want to do, that I want to get better at. And it'll better serve my life. It'll improve the quality of my life. That's where I am. And that's what every year I'm more like, you're saying that you are not the same person. I'm nowhere near the same person. You know, you said something crazy to me. I'm going to go left. I'm going to outdo you. Now I don't even care. That's how you feel. That's cool. But I'm not even going to give you that energy, because then you transfer whatever this is that you have going on to me. If you want to argue, not with me. Argue with yourself. I don't care. I'm gonna come in my house, close my door, and be peaceful.
look, if you don't pay my bills and you can't beat my ass, I don't care what you say.
If it does not impact the quality of my life, I don't care. You can have whatever feeling you want to, be mad as you want to. I'm gonna go ahead.
Yep. Long as my bills get paid and my people good, it's whatever. I don't care.
So I'm looking at this real quick, going down my timeline again. Here are some other folks I'm considering it. Each year it gets more difficult as far as expectations and discipline. Very seriously on the verge. Left for ed tech last school year. I'm trying not to lose my passion, but it's getting harder each year. Someone said the tank is running low. I know at least 5 people that quit, all in tech now. Somebody said me. That would be me, sir. Which is somebody I didn't even know was a teacher. And then somebody said I considered it as an option, but the complaints I see don't look promising. This person raised their hand and said me. I know a few teachers who left. I be this close every other hour. Me every day in the classroom. Didn't make it to year 5. Here and accounted for. Did 4 years. And somebody said, I really want to. I asked one of those people why they decided to leave. And they said administration and leadership, hands down. Then they were stopping my progress professionally. I was sick way too much due to being overwhelmed and stressed. The first year, yes, that felt right. I took it, and didn't look back. I had to save me for once. I was getting nowhere under toxic leadership. So just a wide array of things. And one of the things that stood out to me is just the passion is not there. I can say, based on a particular position that I was in and a particular administration that I had to deal with, my passion died.
Yeah, who wants to deal with this?
Nobody. Key
Who
Sweat.
wants to deal with this? I'm already not. It is what teachers and educators, public servants do is admirable. It really is. Like, you all are shaping the next generation or helping to. Some of that shaping should be happening at home, but whatever. And then it seems like the goalpost is moved for you all every other day. Like, you have to do this, 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 and this, and oh, add that. And we want you to do this and do this and do this and do this. And you all's plates get fuller. There's less help. And now the kid's out of control. I don't even know. No, no, I don't know. I don't blame anybody who leaves. We still need educators, y'all. Everybody don't jump ship. But
Jump ship. I am telling you, jump ship.
He's
Beanstalk for
telling
my
you,
own.
I gave you the disclaimer ahead of time. This is not
But
to
I think
promote you leaving.
some of the key to what you said is some of what I just said. Like, people, I had somebody older tell me one time, after I told them, she was like, where do you work? And I told her, and she was like, weren't you in, doing, social services and blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah. She was like, your generation just doesn't have the same commitment as before. And I said, my commitment is to make the best of the life that I have been given. And that job was going to take years off of my life. Well, weren't you helping people? How can I help them if I'm empty, if I'm miserable, if I hate coming here? When there's somebody who will do this job and be completely satisfied, I said, some of what I think your generation saw as commitment was complacency and fear.
Yep. 100%.
She didn't like that because they committed. I'm going to go to school and I'm going to be an educator. I'm going to go into school and do this. Whereas now I know people that switch companies, especially in corporate America, almost every other year, or don't stay anywhere past 2 or 3 years to go after that pay increase, that additional opportunity. People aren't staying on jobs 30 years anymore. This is the longest place I've ever been anywhere.
No, that's not even something that's normal anymore. I mean, let's be real. Principals aren't staying in positions, 10, 20, that teachers aren't that, like, that's not even a thing anymore.
No,
because my sister's a nurse. I can't tell you how many hospitals she's worked at. She be jumping and she be getting that pay increase and moving up.
And that's what it is. I'm going to serve me. I'm going after that money. That's why the position I have now, I knew I was graduating with my master's, my MBA last May. I started talking to them in February and said, hey, listen, I'll be done in March. By March 15th, I'm going to be looking. So if you want me, here's what I require. They gave it to me.
You gotta negotiate for yourself.
I am. I'm my own biggest advocate. Nobody else is going to do it for me. So you got to sometimes being selfish, prioritizing yourself is not a bad thing.
Never is. Like you said, how can you help other people if you can't even help yourself?
Pouring from an empty cup.
Well, we literally went through every single thing on my list. So, final question here. What is the silver lining?
For what exactly?
Basically, when it comes to this thing called education, when it comes to band directing, when it comes to music education, right? How do we continue to pour into these programs and these kids and these students without looking for other employment, looking to go and be a real estate agent. Because a lot of people, for some reason, go into real estate. I don't know what that is.
They see
Right
big
now, because that you try to buy a house right now, maybe it's an arm, two legs, your firstborn, your secondborn.
Betty yikes.
Right.
I mean, I think it's an umbrella answer, just like for everything else. You got to figure out work-life balance, just in general. Like, yeah, you want to impact kids, but 5 o'clock or whenever rehearsal's over, I'm leaving this shit here. We done. It is what it is. I ain't going home. I ain't doing no score study. I ain't doing no this, that, or the third. I ain't worrying about little Timmy and his grades and blah, blah, blah. I got a life. I got to take care of myself. So I locked this band hall up. I locked up everything else with it. Mr. Stevens does not exist anymore. I am now Jordan. I'm going to go take care of myself and live my life. You have to create hard boundaries to take care of yourself, whatever that hard boundary looks like for you. As long as you're doing the job with integrity and you know that you're making progress towards whatever your goals are, it's great. But you also just got to be like, yeah, I'm not doing extra for this, bruh. Like, I'm going to do what I can do. And when this is done, it's done. And I'm going to go be a human being outside these doors, my guy. Like, that's it.
Portia, any thoughts on that?
You nailed it. I mean, in any job, even now, I have to, set healthy boundaries. And when I was over it today, I had 2 or 3 things I wanted to get done today. I'd start out my day every day and outlining what I want to get done. And sometimes, it got to the point where I was telling myself, well, you didn't have a successful day. No, successful day is when this no longer serves me today, exiting. Because even if I did those things, was I going to do them to the best of my ability? No, I'm not. I'm ready to go. So I closed that laptop, walked out of this office and shut the door today because it was that serious. But I came back in here to be on here with y'all tonight. But, you have to, in any career, set boundaries. And I mean, not encouraging people to leave, but do it until it serves you. And when you feel like it's no longer serving you, to serve others. Prioritize yourself and go find whatever your next endeavor is. And that's in any profession. And you can make your life whatever you want it to be. That's up to you. And fear will keep you caged in if you allow it to. You have a hobby, you have another interest, you have something you want to get another degree in, go get it. Uncle Sam already know I'm taking mine with me, so I'm about to go get another certification. Sure I am.
Yeah, well, with that being said, this has been great. A lot of information that was passed through here. Again, let me go ahead and put this disclaimer out here. We are not encouraging you. This show is not encouraging you to leave your teaching job. It is not encouraging you to quit, but it is talking about the pitfalls, some of the things that we encounter, and some of the thought processes that we have when the idea does come up. Now, what Jordan does on his own time is what he does in his own time. If you want to go and be encouraged to leave, go find Jordan. That's all I'm gonna say. But with that being said, no, this has been super great. And I think definitely a necessary conversation that we needed to have. And yes, Mr. 32K TV, hit the like button. Hit the like button. It's been a while since I've actually stopped in the middle of our conversations and said that. But go ahead and subscribe to the Passions Network if you haven't done that. Also, go ahead and hit that like button as you are in here. If you're watching this on playback, both of those times would be freaking amazing. All right. Also, I think I said it at the beginning, but we're kind of doing an on a week, off a week kind of thing. So if you ever notice, we're not usually on the week after the last time we're on. So we will not be here next week. We will be back on the following week. And I kind of wanted to do it that way because for me, the way that I look at it is it gives, all of us the opportunity just to be able to get a full week of just doing us before we come back together. And it just gives us a whole new set of things that we can just come on here and say and just talk about it all daggone day. So yeah, with that being said, let's get ready to get out of here. Portia, any final thoughts? Anything you got for the culture?
You'll never regret prioritizing you. That's it.
Oh, that was it.
That's it.
I'm looking at Malik, what he said. If y'all coming to tech right now, it's kind of rough. A lot of tech companies been did massive layoffs. Stick and stay. Ooh.
My company is doing that same thing right now, but you know what? My philosophy is God got me.
Oh wait, there you go. But the other thing, I'm trying to, Malik. I'm trying to. But the other thing too is, a lot of people don't know this, but I did voiceover work for a while. One of the things that bothered me, and it's actually happening now. A lot of things are getting so super saturated. It's almost frustrating. There was a time where, when I started doing voiceover work, and I started in 2017, when I started doing voiceover work, it was like, steady. It was cool, man. I got some really good gigs, and, the percentage of people who were auditioning for certain things was just not that high. And then right at the cusp of COVID, then all of a sudden, like, audition numbers were shooting through the roof, like 400, 500 people auditioning. I'm like, bro, when did this happen? And it's also like with DJing. I've been DJing since I was 16. And it's so funny to see some of my educator friends now who can just go and pick up a little Pioneer set of turntables, and they be like, I'm DJ so-and-so, come and book me for you. I'll be like, bro, you weren't carrying crates back in the day, but you don't know what that life is like. So it's just, stuff is getting super saturated, and I think it's because of situations like this. People are looking for the next thing to do, or they're just looking for something to continue to support them. So when I look at what Malik is saying, I can believe it because everything at this point is getting super saturated. And they companies got to lay people off. Go in business for yourself. That's the one thing I'm gonna say. I started a company, like 2 of them. All right. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Jordan, any final thoughts? Anything you got for the culture?
Disclaimer: I am speaking for Jordan and not for y'all.
Thank you.
Jump ship if you're gonna jump ship. Point blank. Period. Like, if you're gonna do it, just go for it. I'm gonna tell you straight up: it's scary. It's gonna be scary. It's uncertain. You don't know what you're gonna do. But guess what? Staying at a job you hate is also scary. Staying in a place that's hurting you is scary. You don't know what you're gonna do about that. Whatever your faith is, you better get on the knees and pray to whoever you believe in. Bob, Allah, Buddha, the flying spaghetti monster. It's whatever. But if you're gonna do it, just do it, and something's gonna work out. And if it don't, something else will work out. And if that don't work out, it's not the end of the world. And if it is the end of the world, who cares? We're all dead.
I know that sounds funny, but that really is his personality. That's just kind of how he talks. And, hey, it is what it is. But no, I don't necessarily disagree with him, but I will definitely say this: do whatever is going to be best for you at the end of the day. Whatever is going to be best for you, your sanity, your life, whatever life that you lead, do what's going to be best. And remember this: God doesn't give us a spirit of fear. So at the end of the day, if you are thinking about leaving, know that He got your back. And that's the only thing that you got to remember. Yes, it will be scary when you do it, but know that you will come out on the other side. Remember, He feeds the birds in the air every day. So if He does that, then why would He not take care of you? You got to read your Bible if you don't know what I'm talking about. So just remember that. I know it's a scary thing. Now, if that is your passion and you still got the passion for it, then keep doing it. That's all I'm gonna say. Don't get me wrong. Again, I do miss being on the podium. That's it. I don't miss dealing with all them other things. All right. With that being said, man, this has been super dope. This has been super great. We will not see you guys next week, but we will see you all the week after next. Also, Crystal does have a show coming up on Friday, so be on the lookout for that. And also, final thing, Luke's Band Report will be up on Monday at 11 a.m. So look for that as well. I have nothing else. Jordan, I appreciate you for coming through and just being you, 50% of you. We ain't get to the whole 100%.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. With that being said, man, this has been super dope. We will see you guys in 2 weeks.